Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show, breaking down Ravens and Bengals. Really nice game that should probably be in prime time, but we are going to be looking at this one here for Sunday morning. Ravens come in as 2.5-point favorites on the road. If you want to take the home money line for the underdog, it's plus 120 for the Bengals. And then a 49.5-point total is the highest total on the week, expecting a lot of points in this one. Seeing if there's any key injuries. Ravens coming in super healthy. You can see the only real injury that they're looking at for this one is Andrew Voorhees, starting left guard, is questionable. Actually looking like he's going to play, was only limited in practice. And then the defense is nice and healthy and continues to stuff the run at a very nice rate as they did last year as well. Bengals also coming in with their full slate of guys on offense. It's on defense where they might be missing Sheldon Rankins. He's actually doubtful, so looking like he's not going to play, and their big run-stuffing DT could be a problem against this Ravens rush offense, obviously. On the season, Ravens 2-2. We know that they took care of business the last 2 weeks with a couple nice wins. Bengals finally got on the win column as well by beating the Panthers, albeit, but still, it's a win. And really, what I'm looking at here is more about what happened last season. We know that because of the way the Ravens were an excellent running team last year, and the Bengals were a terrible rush defense last year, we come in with the same notion once again. It does seem likely that this is going to be a nice spot for the Ravens. 2.5 points. It's a rivalry in the division right now. Really big game for both teams to sort of declare what they're going to do for the rest of the season off of this game. So I'm staying away from the side and the total because it's so high, although I would lean slightly to the under with how well these teams know each other. Either way, the side and the total are going to be a stay away for me. We'll get into these player props in just a sec. Taking a look at the Ravens offense versus this Bengals defense. Obviously, we know about the rushing. Number one in yards. It's actually even more ridiculous than you might think. They are number one by more than 46 yards per game. They have 220 per game. Second at 174 are the Packers, in large part thanks to just giving it to Josh Jacobs considerably, or all the time, I should say. But for the Ravens offense, the other thing about the rushing is number one in adjusted yards before contact. So they are getting a lot of push, and it's really tough because of that read option, as we know. And now you have King Henry coming in as well. He's going to probably be a massive problem for this team. And they're not as bad with the pass as it might appear just because they're 17th. And we've all kind of wondered if Lamar and Todd Monken are going to figure it out in that pass game. They're still 10th best in terms of dropback EPA and in the top 15 in success rate. So a lot of their pass plays are still leading to good, to successful moments for them and big plays, honestly, as well. It's just that their yardage isn't as necessary when you're running the ball for 220 yards per game. For the Bengals, their stats as far as their defense goes, kind of interesting because while they're 11th in terms of limiting passing yards and 25th against the run, there's some underlying metrics that are a little bit skewing this. So as far as the passing yards go, they've been losing for a lot of this season, and they're not getting very much push with the offensive line. So it makes sense that they would be looking to pass a lot more, but it is skewed by how much they've been behind for the majority of this season, only 1-3 on the year. The thing that is not misleading is how bad they are against the pass, honestly. Like they've been an awful rush defense since last season, but they have the third worst pressure percentage on the quarterback, yet they're blitzing in the top 15 in terms of their rate and the amount that they're doing it. So the fact that they can't get any pressure, but still need to bring guys a lot to just impose any kind of will on the defensive line for them, it's not a good look against a Ravens offensive line that's probably going to have its way with them. Looking at the Bengals offense on the other side of the ball, passing yards, they're 7th. Joe Burrow's been cooking the last couple weeks and has 2 tutties in each of the last 3 games. The rushing yards, not as impressive as you can see, but their rushing EPA tells a different story. They're 4th best in the league in rush EPA. That was a wild stat to me, but they do have the ability to move their offensive line forward against pretty good defensive lines. And the pass game is not a fool's gold. I do believe it's as good as it's been. They're 5th best in passing success rate. You can see they're still 8th in passing EPA and have a ton of yards. Joe Burrow has been cooking. This is going to be a real something to watch, is how well they're able to throw the ball against the Ravens defense. As far as the Ravens defense goes, similar to last season, much better against the run. A really good run stuffing team, really healthy on the defensive line, and that they're going to continue to do that without necessarily needing to bring too much pressure. They'll be able to move the defensive line backwards, 3rd best in adjusted yards before contact for their D-line. It's the passing game. As we mentioned, that's going to be a problem for them. If they're not able to shut down Higgins and Chase, like I don't think they'll be able to, the Bengals are at least going to be hanging around in this game. Quick reminder, go ahead and like that video if you appreciate what you're getting as we jump into these player props. Also want to let you know, if you do want every single pick that I'm making, you do want to head over to the link in the description of the video. That's where you can find the VIP Discord. Got some nice discounts in there for 50% off for the first month, and you can get a 7-day free trial for any of the packages in there, so check it out. As we we get into play of props here, and a guy that I'm pretty high on for this weekend, that's T. Higgins. I think he's probably good for a tutty, and I like him on the receptions, especially here. You see that in the 2 games that he's actually played, leading the team in target percentage and overall targets, as well as red zone targets, has 3 of them in 2 games. And we know that Joe Burrow, especially when they're within the red zone and a little bit closer to the goal line, that's where he finds his big-bodied wide receiver, T. Higgins. Baltimore allows the 9th most yards, 2 wide receivers on the season, 4 tutties as well that they've given up to that spot. And Higgins has the top separation score. He's the best zone receiver for this squad, which is kind of interesting that the biggest receiver on the team is the one best against the zone, but he has the highest win rate and the highest separation score when he is playing against the zone defense that we're going to be facing here for the against the Ravens. And of course, tutties are always a good look when you're talking about as high of a score as we've got here. The Ravens are tops in the league in terms of overall EPA and the points per game. So they are dominating, especially on the scoreboard, and at least scoring even in the games that they haven't won so far this season, being 2-2. But either way, you expect them to put up points against this Bengals defense. So expect the Bengals to be throwing. On the other side of the ball, we're talking about Zay Flowers here for a minute, because I don't know why his longest reception is as high as it is. This is 21.5 on most books, under that number in 15 of his 22 career games, and all 4 this season he's gone under with 1 21-yard reception. So if you have it at 20.5, that would be 1 out of 4 times that he's gone over that number. Still not really scared of it. We're talking about a 6.5-yard ADOT that is 80th in the NFL, despite the fact that he is on the field and participating in routes to the tune of top 10 in the league, right? He's always on the field running for them as basically their RB1, despite the fact that he is more of a small slot receiver. And then if you look at the pass play percentage for the Ravens, just don't pass. They just run the ball. We know that. 220 yards per game. That's going to be the game plan coming in against the Bengals defense that is much weaker against the run, at least on paper. And I still believe it is as bad, even though they have that 4th best defensive rush EPA. And the other thing that would scare you about taking Zay Flowers on the long reception is he doesn't get very many yards after the catch. He is 26th in terms of his yards after catch total, but he's also getting a ton of receptions. So that adds up to his yak. Per target, he's only at 2.9 yards per target, right? That he's on these in these games. And that means for each reception that he's actually had on the season, he's at about 4 yards of yak. It's not going to get you there unless he has about 8 receptions or just breaks one off. And this is at least a situation that we are in a good value spot to go ahead and take him for the under. I have to at least bring up King Henry because he is right now the best rusher in the league, probably, maybe alongside Saquon having the best seasons. And he is probably going to score a touchdown, going up against a really bad Bengals rush defense. All of that said, all the odds are poo-poo. All the yardages are super high. If you're going to take King Henry overs, I would at least add the touchdown to something because it's going to be minus 160, maybe worse by the time you see this. And then as far as the yards go, if he's at 80.5, it's such a high total. I'm just of the mind to just go ahead and take him to get 100 plus and take the plus money, maybe reduce the amount that I'm putting on that bet because it will be plus money. But there's no reason for me to go ahead and bet a full unit on him to go over like 82.5 yards where his line is most commonly placed right now. One more player on the Ravens to look at, Mark Andrews and his receiving. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's a dude brimming with talent, but he's only looking at one target in each of the last 2 games without a single reception. It's just not a part of the game plan right now for them to use their tight ends at all, and barely their wide receivers. It's mostly Zay Flowers on the short stuff with the amount of targets that he's seeing. But I don't know why he would increase his usage in this game when the game plan should once again be to run. There's going to be very few teams in the league this season that the Ravens don't come in with a run-first mentality, as they have the 2nd lowest pass play percentage on the season. And I expect that to continue, especially in this game. Last couple players I'm looking at for the Bengals, we're talking about Zach Moss or Chase Brown. Not really sure what to do with either. You look at both of them, both had 15 carries last week. And I would say Chase Brown's usage is on the up and up to a degree, but Zach Moss is still, to my knowledge, the leading rusher for this team. And we haven't seen any of the coaching staff tell us anything differently, so that we should expect anything differently moving forward. So they're both a stay away from me, especially against a really tough matchup against one of, if not the best rush defense in the league. So I think you just stay away from both those guys. The only thing I might look at for an over would be a Chase Brown receptions or receiving style, as they will probably be pressured for Joe Burrow, and he'll have to get that ball out pretty quick. And that is all the time I have for you guys. Quick couple of reminders. Jump into the description of the video. Links to everything you need in there, including the VIP Discord so you don't miss a single play that I'm making. Or you can go in there for the free Discord as well. Check out some promos for everything. So make sure you don't miss the promo for the VIP Discord as well. 50% off by using code OCTSALE. So go ahead and jump in there. Check that stuff out. Until I see y'all next. Happy betting.